Abul Kalam Azad, an exponent of education, humanism, and composite culture. A man of high moral integrity, Maulana Abul Kalam Azad was highly respected throughout his life as the man who added the much vital intellectual dimension to India's national movement and shaped the path ahead. An intellectual par excellence, he left a lasting legacy in the realm of India's education. He was the man who made India realize the value of education. The man who creatively developed his own mind, whose greatest legacy to India was his mind of unsurpassed intelligence and deep humanism. He was a great pastor of words who unburdened himself, working tirelessly for the rise of education and humanity. He had deep belief in Indian nationalism and unity of people belonging to various religion, caste, and creed. He explained the essential unity of all religions regardless of practices or rituals. He always stressed on the unity of our nation and was instrumental in galvanizing the Muslim community of India. He wanted the maps of the world painted in one color so that future generations could visualize the unity of all mankind. He was the man who foretold the political scenario of our nation. His contributions towards the nation were tremendously great and are still greatly relevant and important. Formative years. Azad was born on November 11, 1888 in Mecca. His real name was Sayyid Ghulam Mahiuddin Ahmad bin Khairuddin al-Hussaini, but he eventually came to be known as Maulana Abul Kalam Azad. Azad's father was a Muslim scholar of Afghan descent who lived in Delhi. During the Indian Rebellion of 1857, he left India and settled in Mecca. His father Muhammad Khairuddin bin Ahmad al-Hussaini wrote 12 books, had thousands of followers and claimed noble ancestry, while his mother was Shikha Alia bint Muhammad, the daughter of Sheikh Muhammad bin Zahir al-Watri, himself a scholar reputed from Medina, which had a reputation which extended even outside Arabia. Azad moved to Calcutta with his family in 1890. At 13, he was married to a young Muslim girl, Zulaikha Begum. Education. Azad was homeschooled and self-taught. After being fluent in Arabic, Azad began mastering several other languages including Bengali, Hindi, Persian and English. He also studied math, philosophy, world history and science from teachers employed by his family. Prematured Azad, an avid and determined student, ran a library, reading room and discussion society before he was 12. He completed the traditional field of study at the age of 16, 9 years ahead of his peers, and published a magazine at the same age. Career. As a journalist, Azad began his journalism endeavors at an early age in 1899. He began publishing the poetic journal Narang-e-Alam in Calcutta and was editor of the weekly Al-Misbah in 1900. He contributed articles to journals and Urdu magazines like Makhzan, Ehsanul Akhbar, and Kharang-e-Nazar. In 1903, he published a monthly newspaper, Lisan-us-Sidq. It was published from December 1903 to May 1905 until it was closed due to lack of funds. He then joined Al-Nadwa Nadwatu-e-Ulama's Islamic Theological Journal at the invitation of Shibli Nomani. He worked as editor of Wakil, an Amritsar newspaper from April 1906 to November 1906. He briefly moved to Calcutta where he had a relationship with Darul Sultanate. He returned to Amritsar after a few months and resumed his position as editor of Wakil, continuing to work there until July 1908. Political activity. As a nationalist, in 1908, he made a trip to Egypt, Syria, Turkey, and France, where he came into contact with a number of revolutionaries. Azad developed a political opinion considered harsh for most Muslims of the time and became full-fledged Indian nationalism. He fiercely criticized the British for racism and ignoring the needs of ordinary people across India. He also criticized Muslim politicians for focusing on societal issues before the national interest and for rejecting the sectarian separatism of the All India Muslim League. Eventually, he became more active in revolutionary activities. Al-Hilal movement. In 1912, Azad started publishing an Urdu weekly newspaper called Al-Hilal, which he used as a weapon to attack and question British policies. Espousing the ideas of Indian nationalism, Azad's publications were aimed at encouraging young Muslims into fighting for independence and Hindu-Muslim unity. However, with the onset of World War I, the British stiffened censorship and restrictions on political activity, and since Azad's publication gained immense popularity among the masses, so the British finally banned it in 1914 under the Press Act. In 1913, he was a founding member of Anjuman-e-Ulama-e Bangla, which would become the Jamiat Ulema-e Bangla branch of Jamiat Ulema-e Hind in 1921. His work has helped to improve relations between Hindus and Muslims in Bengal, which have been soured by controversies surrounding the division of Bengal and the issue of separate community elections. Khilafat agitation. Azad also actively supported the Khilafat movement to defend the position of the Sultan of Ottoman Turkey, who was considered the Khalifa to Muslims worldwide. The Sultan sided with England in the war, and the continuation of his rule was under severe threat. Causing distress among Muslim conservatives, Azad saw an opportunity to invigorate Indian Muslims and achieve major social and political reform through the struggle. Azad founded a new Delhi, Al-Balag, which was also banned in 1916 under the India Defence Act, and he was arrested. The government of the Mumbai Presidency, the United Provinces, Punjab and Delhi banned him from entering the province, and Azad was transferred to Ranchi prison, where he remained until January 1, 1920. Non-cooperation movement. After his release, Azad returned to a political atmosphere filled with feelings of outrage and rebellion against British rule. The Indian public was outraged by the passage of the Rowlatt Acts in 1919 and by the killing of unarmed civilians at Jallianwala Bagh in Amritsar on April 13, 1919. Gandhi organized the people of the region and pioneered the art of satyagraha, combining mass civil disobedience with complete non-violence and self-reliance. Azad worked together with Gandhiji on the non-cooperation movement, asking all Indians to boycott British schools, colleges, courts, public services, civil service, police, and military. Non-violence and Hindu-Muslim unity were widely emphasized, and boycotts of foreign goods, especially clothing, were organized. Azad joined Congress and was also elected chairman of the All India Committee of Khilafat. Although Azad and other leaders were soon arrested, the movement drew millions of people in peaceful processions, strikes, and protests. Activities along with Gandhiji. Both Azad and Gandhi shared a deep passion for religion, and Azad became friends with him. He accepted the ideas of the Islamic prophet Muhammad, simply living, rejecting material goods and pleasures. He began to weave his clothes using khadi on charkha and began to live and participate frequently in ashrams organized by Gandhi. In 1921, he founded the weekly Pagam, which was also banned by December 1921. The Khilafat movement and non-cooperation fell sharply with the rise in incidents of violence. In 1922, when the Nationalist mafia killed 22 police officers in Chauri Chaura, fearing a regression into violence, Gandhi asked the Indians to suspend the rebellion and vow to fast for 5 days to repent and encourage others to stop the rebellion. In 1923, Azad became the youngest man to be elected president of Congress. Azad led efforts to organize the Satyagraha flag in Nagpur. Azad served as chairman of the 1924 Unity Conference in Delhi too. In the following years, Azad traveled across India, working extensively to promote Gandhi's vision, education, and social reform. As the Congress leader, an inspiring figure in politics, Azad became an important national leader and served on the Congressional Working Committee. Azad endorsed the end of separate electorates based on religion and called for an independent India to engage in secularism. At the 1928 session of Congress in Guwahati, Azad endorsed Gandhi's call for the dominion status of India within 1 year. Azad developed a close friendship with Nehru and began to espouse socialism as a means of tackling inequality, poverty, and other national challenges. When Gandhi embarked on the Dandi Salt March, which inaugurated the Salt Satyagraha in 1930, Azad organized and led the Nationalist, albeit non-violent, raid on Dharasan salt works to protest the salt tax and restriction of its production and sale. When elections were called under the Indian Government Act of 1935, Azad was appointed to campaign for Congress, raise funds, select candidates, and organize volunteers and rallies throughout India. Speaking vehemently against Jinnah's two-nation theory, the idea that Hindus and Muslims were distinct nations, Azad sharply criticized religious separatism and urged all Muslims to preserve a united India, as all Hindus and Muslims were Indians who shared deep bonds of brotherhood and nation. In support of the call for the British to get out of India, Azad began to urge thousands of people at rallies across the country to prepare for a decisive, all-out struggle. As President of Congress, Azad traveled across India and met with local, provincial, congressional leaders and local activists, giving speeches and planning the rebellion. Azad led parliament in elections for India's new Constituent Assembly, which will draft the Constitution of India. He was the head of the delegation to negotiate with British cabinet delegation. In his 6th year as Speaker of Congress, Azad became a strong supporter of the May 16 mission proposal, which supported a limited and autonomy federal system for the provinces. The federal government will have protection, foreign affairs and communication, while the provinces would win all other subjects unless they voluntarily relinquish their elected subjects to the federal government. Azad has been President of Congress since 1939, so he volunteered to resign in 1946. He nominated Nehru, who succeeded him as President of Congress and led Congress to the provincial government. Azad was appointed head of the Department of Education. The partition of India and independence on August 15, 1947 brought with it a scourge of violence throughout India. Azad took responsibility for the safety of Muslims in India, toured the affected areas, oversaw the organization of refugee camps, supplies and security. Azad gave a speech to large crowds promoting peace and tranquility in border areas and encouraging Muslims across the country to remain in India without fear of security. Azad remained concerned with ensuring the rehabilitation of Muslims in India, secularism, religious freedom, and equality for all Indians. He supported the provisions allowing Muslim citizens to avail themselves of Muslim personal rights in court. Azad orchestrated the creation of national programs for the construction of schools and colleges and the dissemination of the education of children and young adults in school. In order to promote universal primary education, elected to the lower house of Indian Parliament, the Lok Sabha in 1952 from Rampur district and Bareilly district, seat of West Lok Sabha, and again in 1957. Azad supported Nehru's socialist economic and industrial policies, as well as the promotion of social rights and economic opportunities for disadvantaged women and Indians. In 1956, he was president of the UNESCO General Conference held in Delhi. Azad spent the last years of his life focusing on writing his book, India Wins Freedom, a comprehensive account of India's freedom struggle and its rulers, which was published in 1959. As India's first education minister. As India's premier education minister, he focused on educating the rural poor and girls. As chairman of the Central Advisory Council for Education, he gave impetus to adult literacy, universal primary education, free and compulsory education for all children up to 14 years, education of girls, and the diversification of secondary education and vocational training. He oversaw the establishment of the Central Institute of Education in Delhi, which later became the Department of Education of the University of Delhi as a research center for solving the new educational problems of the country. Under his leadership, the Ministry of Education established the first Indian Institute of Technology in 1951 and the University Grants Commission in 1953. He also focused on the development of the Indian Institute of Science in Bangalore and the Faculty of Technology, University of Delhi. He envisioned a great future in IITs for India. Death. The scholar-politician passed away on 22 February 1958. He died of a stroke. Legacy. In 1992, Government of India honored by giving posthumously Bharat Ratna. National Education Day is an annual event in India to celebrate the birthday of Maulana Abul Kalam Azad, India's first independent education minister, who held office from 15 August 1947 to 2 February 1958. India's National Education Day is celebrated on 11 November every year in India. The Central Ministry of Minority Affairs established the Maulana Azad Education Foundation in 1989 on the occasion of his 100th birthday. To promote education in society that is lagging behind in education, he is best known as one of the founders and one of the greatest patrons of the Jamaat-e-Islami. Conclusion. A mind with outstanding intellect, Azad's contributions in nation building are truly remarkable. His vision of a united and progressive nation aroused gratitude and patriotism in the minds of Indians. A great scholar and nationalist, Azad has worked tirelessly to build a nation where all its people live in harmony, respecting each other's customs and practices. He envisioned a secular nation. He was instrumental in encouraging the Muslim community across the country to walk in unison with other religious communities. He recognized the value of education and emphasized educating all Indians, especially women. He also played an important role in the establishment of national institutions in our country, a step towards building a strong base for the educational system. The epitome of humanism, the works of Azad and the legacy he left behind will be remembered. A true visionary who predicted the saddening fate of our nation and worked relentlessly to make it untrue. Indeed, he was a true patriot who led our nation on the path ahead.